Welcome to Leicester in 1890. The city was booming and manufacturing industry was at a peak. Engineering achievement was awesome. Gigantic machines were being built in Leicester that still impress with their might and power even today. Factories large and small across the city churned out bicycles and accessories to fuel the booming cycle racing scene. Out of all this excitement emerged the greatest cyclist the world had ever seen.
Hello, Bert. Hello, Bert.
Bert Harris. Bert who?
Bert Harris was the David Beckham of his day. Cycling was the biggest sport in the world at the time. It was a brand new sport and everyone wanted to be involved and everyone wanted to watch it. He was a very successful rider, fabulously wealthy. The ladies adored him and all the men admired him.
Roger Lovell runs Cycle Magic, a community cycling project supported by the Heritage Lottery Fund. He's also working to restore the forgotten reputation of one of Britain's greatest cycling legends, Bert Harris of Leicester. A man who achieved worldwide fame, but whose death still holds a secret, as we shall see.
I gather he's only sort of 5'2" and only a little squirt really, but by God, he was, a mighty atom on his bike.
Bert Harris was a rider that I hadn't heard of, and when I heard a little bit and found out about what he'd achieved and how he'd travelled internationally at that time, it's amazing, incredible story.
Today's machines used for racing were only just appearing in Bert's day and were known as the safety bicycle. The older types soon disappeared because of an unfortunate tendency to tip the rider straight over the bars. The newer, much safer design was made possible by the invention of the roller chain and was much more stable.
This is the same type of bike that Bert would have raced on back in 1893, a Humber from that year. The tyres are a lot thicker and it's a lot heavier, and as you can see, so it would have been a lot more uncomfortable to ride.
I myself ride a penny farthing, and for those of us who can ride them, they are a very exhilarating and fun machine to ride. But you did have to be quite tall to ride them, and Bert was quite short, so without the invention of the safety bicycle, Bert Harris wouldn't have been able to become the champion he was, and other people wouldn't have been able to take up cycling.
Bert Harris took up a career in racing in 1888. He soon found sponsorship from Humber Cycles, a company founded in Beeston in Nottingham. The only other rider in the world to approach Bert's genius was American champion A.A. Zimmerman, who rode for Raleigh.
Bert and Zimmerman were great rivals and great friends too, but Bert was the only Englishman to consistently beat Zimmerman, and Zimmerman did actually go on to become a world champion several times over. Zimmerman is still remembered today, certainly in America, but in the cycling world across the world, his name is still known. Bert, sadly, was very soon forgotten, and there are quite a number of people in Leicester who want to change that.
In 1895, Harris was invited to Australia.
Yes, he went there to race. I believe it was by invitation by the Australian Cycling Federation or whatever it may have been in those days. How many races he had over there, I don't really know, but I think he did rather well.
Bert was earning as much as £1,000 a year and winning expensive luxuries. He was phenomenally rich.
Such was his success that in 1896 he began the season here and then went to race in Australia, and he won so many races and won so much money that by the end of the year people were beginning to call 1896 Harris year.
But it wasn't to last. Back in England in 1897, Bert was on his way to a race in Bolton on Easter Sunday when he got off the train and cycled back to Leicester.
He became very agitated, and this is believed to be because he'd had a premonition that he was going to die during a racing incident. And he went round to all his friends and family in Leicester and said, goodbye. He'd said that he wasn't going to come back, he wasn't going to sleep in his bed again.
The very next day, Bert attended a race at Aston in Birmingham. His front tyre took a puncture, and for a while it looked as if he'd be missing the 10-mile race. But a fellow competitor lent him his front wheel. The 10-mile race went ahead. Four miles in, something happened. When the dust cleared, Bert Harris, one of the world's greatest cyclists, lay motionless on the track. He whispered a few last words to his best friend. "Oh, Will, this time I am beat." 3 days later, he died. The news stunned the people of Leicester and the world, and they had one question: was it really an accident?
They were out to stop Bert, no doubt, one way or t'other, and of course they stopped him.
I think it possibly he heard a rumour that he was going to be, bumped off. That was the term of the day, where riders would bang into each other, and one of them would crash or be knocked out of the lead or whatever.
To film our reconstruction, we searched for someone to be Bert Harris. We found the perfect player. This is Richard Harris, Bert Harris's great-great-great-nephew.
It was in the paper before about a cycleway being opened in Leicester. Quite a surprise when I first knew about it. So I didn't really know much about any Harrises apart from acting.
This cycle path by the canal in Leicester is named after Bert, thanks to Roger Lovell doing his very best to uphold the memory of a sporting hero.
With him being, British champion and so on and so forth, he had a hell of a following.
He was set to dominate cycling at that time in Victorian Britain.
He was a champion cyclist at a time when cycle sport was the biggest sport in the world.
Bert's funeral was held on April the 24th. Thousands lined the route. It's a cruel irony that now, over a century later, his grave is untended and vandalised. Bert Harris, truly a forgotten hero.